you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Let's talk about Dark Winds.
Let's do
First thing
it.
I want to know is how did you become attached to joining the second season?
It's actually it's a funny story. The long story is actually funny, and a lot of people don't know it. But I auditioned. Obviously, my half of an actor's job, right, is just being a professional audition. Or the tripod behind me, the wall, it's just auditions. But so I auditioned for it, and it was really interesting, and it was a good tape. But what was funny is John Worth, the showrunner, I had had a bit part on Hap and Leonard some years before, and I'd had lunch with John during the shooting of that. And I remember I was talking with him and I was trying to sound smart because I thought he was, this really cool, interesting guy. And I was trying to be intelligent. And I walked away from that lunch and I thought, you sounded like an idiot asshole. Part of my use of the word
You're
was
good. You're good.
sounded like an idiot. I was like, that guy will probably never hire you again. And John Worth is, of course, the showrunner of this, and he really did a great job leading us and taking us into the second season and updating it in some ways. And he's just great. I can't say enough about him. But essentially, he was like, oh, when he saw me, he was like, oh, Nick, I remember Nick. I really liked him. Let's bring him in. And when they ended up casting me and I joined, I told him this. I said, I thought I would never work with you again because you must have thought how big of an idiot I was. And he goes, and I said, I used the other word that I said
Yeah.
before. And he goes, well, he goes, idiots make impressions. So he was being funny, but it was really sweet. And I think, we had a good time working before. And he was gracious enough to give me the opportunity to play this part because it really is one of Tony Hillerman's best villains, I think, in all the book series. It's a really great role and a real challenge and a great opportunity. And I'm just very grateful to have been able to come onto the team and try to embody it as best as I could.
I've always wondered that, you're coming in on the second season. The show is pretty much already established. The cast is established. You're not coming on as like the good guy. You're coming in as a bad guy. So how is that when you're trying to create chemistry with the cast, knowing that the character you're actually playing is the villain this season?
Yeah. I think what it was lucky about Colton is that a lot of, especially starting out, a lot of the scenes he's alone. Colton very much is alone. He is a lone wolf. And I think a lot of what the character represents is how warped and ugly things can get when you go down a life path. And you make certain choices that you can't take back, right? Which is then I think the test for Zahn's character, Joe Leaphorn, are you willing to walk down a similar road? And so I think for me coming in as an actor, there was enough time for me doing these scenes alone where because Colton is very strange. So the only kind of fear I had is this is a strange guy. Is it, do you get approval from, from Zahn and Kiowa, and I don't know these guys and Jessica and NA, is everyone going to be, kind of down for the cause and supportive of me and what I'm trying to do? And number one, all of those people are incredibly kind, humble, gracious, welcomed me with open arms. So it was very easy to feel relaxed and just show up and be comfortable to do what I had to do. But luckily, I kind of, because a lot of the scenes I was doing, I was alone, I was getting enough positive feedback and trust from the cast and crew that was then filtering to the rest of the cast. So when I showed up to do my scenes with them, I think they were more trusting and open to what I was doing. And I think because of that, we had a really great time working together. I mean, I really did enjoy working with all of them.
Well, how did you prep for this role? Because you said you were alone for most of your beginning parts of the scenes, and so you really just had the crew around you to help you shape this character. But this character exists in another, existed before the season. So how do you prep for that?
Well, I mean, obviously, I read the book, and then I found out from I found out from John, like, hey, this is definitely, based off the book and this framework, but it is its own entity, and we are, taking liberties, which then gave me freedom to take it where it felt most honest, in each moment and each scene. What the book gave me was the ability to embrace kind of how strange Colton really is. I mean, Colton, the way I describe him is I feel, and what his purpose is for this show, the purposes of this show in the book is, I believe he represents and embodies the warped nature of kind of the bigotry, the history of violence, and the unfair treatment that has been bestowed upon Native peoples in the history of the country. And I think Colton really does represent the ugliness of that, and how warped and dark that becomes, how lonely that becomes, and how sick that can make you. And since that's sort of what I was wanting to embody and physicalize and experience, exploring that well of darkness, based off his history and who he is, and the kind of quandaries he's trying to unravel within himself or not. It just allowed me to just fall down a rabbit hole. And then when you're falling down the rabbit hole, it's sort of, I would describe it to some of the directors, to Chris and Michael and some of the other directors. I would say, guys, honestly, with Colton, it's such a deep, dark well that it's really about, what can I grab onto? Where can I hold on for a second before I fall some more? What's another place? Because I certainly, I've always scratched the surface with this guy. I mean, it's very difficult as an actor to come into this kind of complicated psyche and act like I could possibly truly understand it. So lucky for me, I did have a weird experience with Colton, where I'm a pretty physical actor, but with him, I would feel him sort of come into my arms. I could feel him sort of enter me a little bit. And when that happened, it was like, then all this would start going. And then once that happened, I could sort of just sink into him. And I would do a thing each scene, because each scene I'm going to learn. And I try to keep a very free, fun atmosphere before when I'm working. I'm a really happy guy. I'm very different from Colton. I like to have fun. I believe this is play. I'm not the kind of person who wants to sit in it all day. I like to get the juices going in the morning, but then have fun and be relaxed and comfortable on set. And then about 30 minutes to an hour before, I just warn everyone. I say, hey, guys, forgive me, I'm going to go into weirdo zone. So if I'm acting a bit strange, or I'm not engaging, or forgive me, I'm in Colton world. And then it would just be fall down the well and see what you find.
How do you find yourself getting out of the well when the scene is done and you're done for the day? How do you find yourself pulling yourself out of that?
I do a thing before and after scenes that I find is really helpful. I do these big breaths, especially when I just go, it's kind of weird, but I'll be like, and I'll do that before a scene, or when I'm going to switch into that, and then after a scene. But I remember sometimes it's hard. There's a scene in here where I think Colton is really faced with a memory of his mother and a time before he was so corrupted, and he's on the verge of breaking down. I don't know how capable he is, but he's right there. I mean, he could really be pushed given the right stimulus. And after the scene, I just had to kind of walk away and weep. And it was, I was very lucky that, our makeup team and Taylor, who I love, who I spent a lot of time in makeup with, God bless Taylor. She just kind of gave me a big hug, and just kind of loved on me. So I would either blow it out, or if I have to go and kind of scream or cry to get all that out, I got to do it. But my wife is a psychotherapist, so I'm not the kind of person where it's okay to just come home and act crazy with my wife. That's unacceptable. Like, we have to go to dinner. I need to call my mom. Like, I have responsibilities. I can't just be Colton.
Be a person.
Yeah, I don't think that's very healthy. I don't want to be that way. So, I blow it out, I weep it out, I do what I have to do, and then I try to go back to being Nick.
Well, I love that the whole breath thing, because breathing is so important, and I don't think people quite realize that, is that it can help calm you down, but it can also help pump you up and help get you into certain situations. So I love hearing that that is a technique that you use, because I don't think many people actually use that or incorporate that into any form of preparation or calming down situations.
Yeah, which is strange because I think if you've had any kind of actor training, so much of it is based in the breath, and you really learn to start with that. I went to the University of the North Carolina School of the Arts, and Mary Irwin and Jordy McMahon, our teachers, they really, were on us about breath, 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 breath. So it definitely helped. And then I remember I read a book years back that I really liked, this book, How to Stop Acting by Harold Guskin. And I don't know, he might watch what I do and think I'm terrible, but we got a lot from his book. And he talked a lot about the breath, and I know that James Gandolfini would do a lot of that before The Sopranos, and so that kind of breath work has definitely been very useful to me, just to kind of get out of Nick, get into a new headspace, and then really get into my body.
Now, the scene that you were mentioning previously, where you had Taylor have to give you the hug afterwards to help you calm down, would you say that was your most challenging scene, or was there another scene that you can think of that was probably your most challenging?
No, that scene actually came pretty. The only thing that was challenging about that was it was very technical. So it was like the camera's gonna come in, I enter, and then it's sort of like I need to be at the emotional break for that, right when the camera hits a certain mark. So it's sort of the, okay, cool, we're prepping, we're feeling, and boom, emotional break, and settle, and then I have to kind of switch into a very different mode very quickly. I'll be interested to see if it even reads in the show, or what they use. But the only thing that was about that was hard was the technicality. I felt very connected to the moment itself. No, I think what was hard, the hardest scene maybe, is later on in the season, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but I do believe that Colton, my purpose is to try to draw Joe into the shadows, and for the audience to see what choice is Joe going to make, who is Joe going to be, what type of man is he, because the time that Colton spends with Joe is kind of the most human contact Colton's probably had since he was a child. So so for him, there's a lot going on, and there's some emotional roller coasters and manipulation tactics happening within a particular scene that I have with him, that is challenging to get to, where you're like, oh, am I hitting this? There you read in script sometimes like evil laugh, and you're like, oh, that can go really poorly, or it can be brilliant, and you just hope you make it honest, and you ride the wave to its natural conclusion. It's just sort of, so much of acting is like a wave, where it's like it's going to come in, here's your get up, feel it, and then explore it as it happens. So yeah, well, I think that scene's, they're in episode 5. You might be like, yeah, you lost us there, and then you'll go, that was probably challenging, but I think everyone was pretty happy, and I think we found some good stuff. So overall, I'm very satisfied with the work.
I've got to know, when you read something like evil laugh in a
Yeah.
script, do you just, when you go to do the scene, just do it however you think it is, or do you ask the writer or maybe the showrunner prior, being like, what are you looking for an evil laugh? Because I can go Joker, or I can go like a little bit more sinister.
Yeah, I mean, look, it may not have said evil laugh, but it implied it, right? Like there's implications happening. But Joe Worth is a wonder, and his writing team are wonderful. So I don't want to presume that I read something I may be misremembering. So let me say that first. But no, I think the truth of it is look, I'm a big movie fan. I love film. I love television. And I love watching the great villains. So, these are moments that happen, and I want to play more of these guys. So it is, a challenge, and it's a part of the job, and you just got to do it. But I don't think it's about, I've had to do it before. I had to do it before in this small indie, and I got asked a similar question by one of the actors, like, are you practicing the laugh? And I just think that's a very poor way to go about it. I mean, I try to go into my office and get into my crazy zone and exist in the scene of the moment. and I try to explore the connective tissue of the thoughts. So like, how do the thoughts play out? How could they play out? Explore the different ways in which the thoughts unfold within the scene, how they may change. And then what is it about this moment that is so hysterical to Colton, you know, or to the character? What is it there? And I think it's getting that connected within myself, what that, you know, whether it's replacement work, that, you know, that kind of work, or if it's just learning to find that same humor that Colton's finding in the moment. And I think for a lot of villains, it's oftentimes based in irony, and it's oftentimes based in hypocrisy, because I think most of the time I'm not of the mind that every villain it believes themselves to be a good guy. I think that makes it too easy for us as regular people to understand. I think sometimes villains are very aware that they might not be the good guy, but I think the truth is they might just be okay with that, and that good is relative and morality is relative and is based on perspective, upbringing, and your place in society, right? And I think where the humor can come in is more the intellectual understanding of the futility of it all.
I love when a villain can just be a villain. There's
Yeah.
no like trying to make us sympathize for them or anything like that. So I love kind of your take on this. It's like, it's okay. It's okay to be the villain. Yes, we're going to give you kind of the backstory of what's leading to this person becoming who they are, but it's okay to just be the villain.
Yeah, and like for me at least, it's fun, you know. I mean, I don't know, it's really beaten in, and people, many actors, acting teachers, whoever, you know, dramaturgs, they'll disagree with me or whatever, and that's fine, you know. But for me personally, I agree with you. I enjoy the fun in it. I like crafting a character, and then particularly, I think it just depends on the show, but particularly for something like this, like I said before, you know, there are really sick people out here in this world, you know, and I think the truth is, like, yeah, there are definitely monsters in the shadows or monsters among us who you may never know, and those people are absolutely horrifying, you know. My friend Jake Lacey just played one of those guys in a show and did an excellent job. But there's also real monsters who are kind of in the shadows, who are out there, who are not a part of our society, and are choosing not to fit in, and their behaviors do not fit in, and what they do does not fit in, and they stand out, you know. And they are sick, many of them. So I think it's also important to show them, and to not just to shy away from it, because for me at least, I always want to take a chance. I always try to morph as best I can, and I always try to just throw something crazy at the wall and hope it's good and sticks, because that's a lot of the stuff I like to watch and I enjoy watching.
Now you're actually working on a new project right now, Norman Lear's Marine project. So can you tell
Yes.
me a little bit about that?
I don't know how much I can say, because we got like an email like 2 days ago being like, don't share anything on social media, blah blah blah. So I don't know. My wife runs my social media account. I'm very brand new to social media, but you can follow me at Nicholas Logan __. My wife sort of forced me into it. She was like, you're doing it, I'm taking care of it.
You have
Do
a
it.
smart wife there.
I hate social media, but that's okay. So we're trying to build it. We'll see what happens. But anyways, no, I think it's based off a book. What I can say, it's based off this great book by Greg Cope White called The Pink Marine. It's his life story. It's about a young gay man joining the Marine Corps in the early 90s. And it's got a great cast and a lot of wonderful people around it. I was handed Norman Lear on a FaceTime by my friend Logan Gould, who's wonderful and just out of NCSA himself. And he just hands me a phone. I think he's going to show me something stupid on Instagram, and instead it's Norman Lear's face, and he's like, "Hello, I'm Norman Lear." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're Norman Lear, and you're a genius, and I love you, and thank you for 20th century American humor in television, because I'm probably not who I am if you don't exist. So wow, you're awesome." And I was like, I don't know what to say to you.
Yes.
And it's funny because on this show, I will say I'm a drill instructor, and I'm a bit of the I'm definitely scary. I'm definitely a jerk, but I'm also more, it's a real treat to go to this after Colton because I get to improv a lot. I get to kind of roast these guys and, rip into them and make up sort of, funny stuff to call them. These drill instructors are crazy. And but when tasked with all of a sudden, maybe because I represent that on the show, being funny in front of Norman Lear, it's like, the mountaintop of humor, I mean, he's Mount Rushmore of,
Yes.
fun. So you're like, I kind of froze and I was like, I love you. I don't know what to say. Bye. I think I said something funny. I don't remember what it was, but it's really exciting and it's fun. And everything with the strike is tough. I hope that the studios do what's right by the writers and by the actors and keep allowing us to have a normal living, especially in these cities. I personally stand with the writers and stand with the actors. So I know that the shooting of this show right now is a little in flux, but we're getting it done, and hopefully the studios will come back to reality and not live as the greed machines, and be a shining bright example to America and business and politics. Please, for the love of God, I hope.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
please. Yes, please.
so yeah, yes, please, so that we're not all just out here independent contractors and we can actually have a career and take care of our families and buy homes and live a upper middle class life. That would be cool.
You're
I don't
not
think
wrong.
it's too much to ask. Just you wanted a piece of the pie and you got the whole pie. Give us our
Exactly.
piece of the pie. Come
We
on.
just want what we deserve. That's it.
Yeah, but anyways, it's been a wonderful shoot and everyone involved is excellent, and it's definitely been a lot of fun. It's hot. We're shooting in New Orleans. It's hot. It's so hot. So I'm glad to have like a week off. We'll see what happens with the actor strike if I go back. But I guess we find out today, don't we? Crazy.
Yeah. End of today. We'll
Whoa.
see what happens.
See.
Well, I feel like I could keep you here all day, but we're going into a holiday weekend and I would like you to enjoy it.
Well, I would like you to enjoy it too, Megan. You deserve it.
So my final question for you is, why should fans tune in to season 2, Dark Winds?
Fans should tune into season 2 of Dark Winds for a lot of reasons. The most important reason being that I think it's an awesome crime thriller. I think it's a really fun film noir crime thriller, and I think you'll have a really good time. I mean, we got a lot of excellent villains. We got great acting. We got some wonderful writing. And I think you're going to really enjoy the show. I think what makes Dark Winds so fun and cool is that we have typical film noir crime thriller, but you have the occult that kind of inherently goes with the Navajo or the Dene, and Native peoples, which I think what's so interesting about that as an audience especially audience members who may not be Native themselves, is there's a mystery there that I don't think we, being non-natives, can ever fully understand. I mean, you could maybe study it, go get a PhD in it, live there, try to really drop in. But I don't think that unless you are the Dene, which is the Navajo for the people, unless you are a part of the Dene, I think that it's just will always remain on some level a mystery to you. And I think that mystery is fascinating. So I think there's a lot from an entertainment standpoint to draw people in and be fun. And then I think on the other side of that, at least on a deeper level, I just think it's really awesome to see a show, like this Reservation Dogs, where it's like, hey, these are people. They're not just these weird caricatures or devices of an olden time that John Wayne's going to come in and either save or battle or what have you. It's like these are human beings who were living then, they're living now, they're right over there. They have a culture, they have a belief system. And we always talk about immigrants in this country and all this. Look, I'm Scotch, Irish, Polish. My whole descendants, they're all immigrants, every last one of them. The only ones who aren't are the natives. And we came to their land, and they were here for, tens of thousands of years, if not longer, and so it's one of those things where I just think it's really cool to see a show where the leads are all natives. The story, who our protagonists are natives. That's who we're rooting for. That's who we're following. And and just having Zahn at the helm is awesome. He's just such a good guy, and he crushes it as Joe. And he's just an easy guy to root for as a human. I mean Zahn, Joe obviously, but Zahn himself. So, and Kiowa too. I mean, just two, and Jessica as well. But I really, I got close with all of them. They're just good people. They're cool people. They're fun. I can't say enough about any of them. A. Martinez is like the ultimate mensch who you just want to work with. Just such a sweetheart. But it's a great show, and I think it's going to be fun. I think people are going to like it, and I think it challenges people. It's going to remind you, like, hey, man, a lot of bad stuff happened to the native peoples, and it needs a spotlight. It needs a spotlight. Wrongs need to be made right. I know people don't want to face it in their own generations. I know it costs money. Everything that's happening down in Oklahoma right now, in Tulsa, these issues matter, and these people, their rights matter. And I just, I hope that this show shines a spotlight on those people, and they can get more of what they deserve, because they absolutely deserve it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you, Megan. I really appreciate you having me.